I'm Byrd Bergeron here with Dotloop, and I'm actually here today with Joseph Rand from Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate Rand Realty. They operate out of New York and New Jersey, two of our states that are hit hardest during this epidemic. And we're going to visit today with Joe and kind of figure out how's he pivoting his brokerage and what is he telling his agents to really do the best. So thanks, Joe, so much for taking the time to be with us. We appreciate it.
That's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's start off with where are we at today? Exactly how far on lockdown are you guys, and what does your state look like?
Well, both New York and New Jersey have worked in tandem. I think the governors have done that by design. That New York, about in like March 22nd or so, like a week ago, they put in a essential services rule, which meant that you can only leave your house, you can only work outside the home for if you were an essential service. You really should, it's really a stay-at-home order, but it's not, you're not locked in. And New Jersey followed suit, so did Connecticut. So they're all kind of following the same thing, which is that certain businesses are exempt, the kinds of ones you would expect: healthcare, grocery stores, hardware stores, things like that. Real estate is not exempt, so offices are closed, but banks are. So there's this kind of weird quasi-shadow business where real estate is still kind of going on a little bit, and real estate's progressing, particularly because like appraisers are exempt, so they're going out, so agents are having to schedule appraisals and things like that. And you can leave your house. I mean, like, I walk the dog every day. I go out. The Starbucks are all closed, but the Dunkin' Donuts are open for drive-through, so you can pick up a coffee at Dunkin' Donuts if you want, stuff like that. The restaurants are
today, huh?
that's the highlight of the day. Is I drive to Dunkin' Donuts and get myself a coffee just to leave the house. I never leave my car, but at least I leave the house. So like restaurants are closed to sit down, but you can get takeout from a lot of them. So a lot of them are still open and making a go of it, trying to do takeout service and things like that.
Okay. So let's start with the agents' lives. So you said they basically can't do open houses, but they're still accompanying appraisers and going to houses. And are they going
to? All right. Here's the way I would put it. I would put it that we've instructed our agents that we are not considered in New York an essential service. New Jersey, put it this way. In New York, the governor actually said when he was announcing essential services, he used as an example, you're not going to go look at an apartment because the agent can't show you apartments right now. So that kind of made it very clear to us that New York, you're not allowed to do showings. In New Jersey, there's actually been some commentary from the governor's office that they can do showings. So we have two different interpretations of what essential services are. We have told agents in New York that they are not to do showings, that we're not allowing it. But, as you know, in the industry, the agents are independent contractors. They're all adults. So we did kind of when you tell your kids don't drink, but if you drink, call a cab to get home. It's the don't do showings. But if you do happen to do a showing, or you have to go let somebody in to do an appraisal, you have to let somebody in to do an inspection or something like that, follow precautions. And we have a set of protocols that you should follow, where you should have gloves handy. People wear gloves when they walk in the home. You should have sanitary wipes and gel ready. You shouldn't do, you shouldn't ever drive in someone's car. Things like, and you got to social distance and whatnot, 6 feet from everybody at all times. So things like that. So if people are violating our instruction, we want them at least to, be safe when they do it. What I would tell you is that business is not ground to a standstill. One of our big challenges is that the county clerk's offices are closed, as are the towns. So we can't get municipals to do searches to clear title, and we can't do recordings. But the title companies have been really creative in trying to give us ways that we can still close deals. So we're still closing deals, just a lot more slowly and not as many. And they have to basically be done with the title work, because you can't go to the clerk's office and go get title anymore. So the pipeline is moving along slightly. People are still listing their homes. I'm not sure exactly how or why. And we're still seeing, although it's trickling now, deals that are going into contract. I think that, we're only really a week into this essential services order. You check with me a week from now, things might just be completely stopped. But for now, we're still getting the pipeline is still moving a little bit.
So if I'm an agent in New York right now, I can't really do showings. Like you said, my pipeline's dying. What is it? How are you coaching these people? What should they be doing with all their time?
We have had, it has been for me, because I do a lot of the content, I've been like incredibly busy. We're putting out content every day. We have 3 webinars a week that we do for teaching technology tools. I've been putting out content, what we're calling productivity content, like, just listicles and things like that, just to engage them on advice about working from home, advice about projects, long-term projects they should be working on. I wrote a whole thing about how they can jumpstart, get their sphere of influence built up. Like, this is a great time to do that. Like, you're home, you have nothing to do, and everybody on your sphere is also home with nothing to do. Like, they'll actually pick up the phone when you call them to say, hey, I want to confirm the details. I'm trying to update my database while I'm sitting here doing nothing. So it's a great time to do that. So we have like a whole instructional about how to do that on things like that. So yeah, education's a part of it. I think the managers on a local level are doing tons of education when they're not doing a lot of, every deal is now a massive dumpster fire. So they're doing tons of firework, fire prevention and whatnot to put out the fires on the deals that are trying to stagger toward a closing. But yeah, you try to keep them engaged. And they're frightened. So like, you have to reassure them. I do a call every morning at 9 a.m. It's an open conference line that I talk for about 5 to 10 minutes. The agents can call in to listen. They're all muted, but they can hear a message for the day. I do a memo every day, which has all the information they need to know. It includes like every link they could possibly need to get information about the coronavirus and updates about what's going on in the company, legal updates. Now it's going to turn to like interpreting the new recovery legislation and what it means to them with the unemployment law being expanded, and what they can expect from that $1,200 credit or tax rebate check that they're getting. Not rebate check, but the $1,200 check that they're going to get from the government. So we're doing a lot of that. Just trying to keep them informed, keep them engaged.
You mentioned one of the pieces of content that you were putting out was about long-term projects that they could be doing. Can you dive into that a little bit for us?
Well, I just feel like what I've told people is this. The first most important thing is stay inside, stay healthy, practice good hygiene and protocol of your distancing and washing your hands and doing all that stuff. Keep yourself safe. That's the most important thing. But if that, and if you're sick, you got to stay isolated. You got to go up to you can't have any interaction with anybody. So, putting aside the kind of incredibly dire issues relating to the virus, like why we're all home. Okay, now you're sitting home and you're home for 24 hours a day, 23 and a half hours a day. And, I think people, it's so hard to keep yourself engaged with stuff. Like, it's so easy to just, put on Netflix or Disney Plus and just start grinding through a binge. And so what I've tried to do is say, come out of this with something. Like, in a month or two, someday the doors are going to open and we're going to go outside again. And it would be really great if you could look back on this period and say, well, during that period, I got this done. So what kinds of things are we trying to say? We're saying, you know what? You can, on Amazon, still delivering. Go get a photo scanner on Amazon. You've got boxes full of photos that you took in the 1990s that are all on film that you don't have on digital. And like, spend a day scanning all your old photos into digital, so you have all the digitals of your old photos. I did that years ago. It's a great project. Take all your digital photos and make photo books out of it. From a business perspective, sphere of influence, build up your sphere. Learn how to use all the tools on our website. We have tons of tools. Agents know how to use about half of them. So like, start taking the instruction, get all your CE done. There's a million things. I came up with a list of 15 sort of random suggestions of things that like you could manage to get done in a couple of weeks, where at the end of this, you would look back and say, all right, this was horrible and it sucked. And hopefully there's been no personal, you haven't lost anybody you care about. You haven't been sick, but it sucked. But I had something at the end that I made my time productively,
I love that you guys are highlighting your sphere a lot, because I've been talking to a lot of people that are really trying to do that. It's such a natural time to reach out to literally everyone and just say, hey, how are you doing? Like, I'm sitting at home, I'm bored. It's a great way to connect and not do business. Just literally help your emotional connect, right?
No, I mean, like this is what's actually really great about it is that it's so tempting to call somebody in your sphere who is technically supposed to be somebody you know who knows you, right? And you have some personal relationship with, but you don't because you get busy. You don't reach out to them as much as you're supposed to, no matter how much we tell you you do it. You don't, and then you reach out for the first time in 6 months, and like 30 seconds into the conversation, you're saying, "Hey, do you know anybody who's thinking of moving?" That's horrible. It's a horrible way to try to build that relationship. Well, now you really can't be tempted to do that. Because if you called somebody right now and say, hey, you know, I was thinking of moving, it's like moving. I can't even leave my house, much less someone move. So you at least, and I think it is also like, it's a really good time to show that side, what we all should be doing, which is building relationships about, you know, calling up the people you haven't talked to in a while with no ulterior motive other than how are you doing? How are things going? You guys braving up? Anything I can do for you, you know, stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff. And like I said before, everybody else is sitting home. They answer their phones. Like no one ever answers their phone anymore. Now they're answering their home phones now. Like no one ever answers their home phone. You can actually get them on their home phone because they're so amazed. They're like, oh, it's ringing. Let me see what could possibly be on the other line.
Talk to me.
Yeah, please talk to me. I can't talk to my kids or my wife anymore. I need to talk to somebody else.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. We will have a veil finally lifted one day at some point soon. We're hoping. What is your kind of last minute advice for when that day comes? How can I be best prepared to do as much business as I possibly can? We are anticipating there being some kind of like onslaught of people wanting to buy and sell, right?
My guess is that it's going to be a slow build. I don't think there'll be a moment where we lift, like you said, lift the veil. I think the veil will lift slowly. I think it will be, okay, you can leave the house, you know, you can go back to work, but we're still doing distancing and stuff like that. But there will be a moment when you can go back to work. So I actually had to think through this recently because I got a request from a reporter who's working on a magazine story that has like a 2-month lead time. So she's writing it now. It's going to publish in May. And she wanted advice about real estate. I said, well, advice about real estate in May, like this was like a week ago. I said, you know, there may not be a real estate market in May, maybe in June, but maybe not in May. So I said, I'll give you advice. I mean, frame your story about what do we do now? Like, what can we do now that the market's kind of coming back? So I had to think about it. I said, well, you know what? What's going to have to happen is like, you're going to have to think about what do you advise sellers who've been cooped up in their house for 2 months and put it back on the market? Well, you know, they're going to have to, that's going to be, every seller should get a deep clean of their house. Like, then, you know, this is like, I mean, what buyers, you know, we talk about how when you stage a home, you want people to walk in and smell like cookies or something like that. You know what they want to smell now? They want to smell Clorox. They want to smell bleach. They want to walk into a house and smell, okay, this place has been clean. That's what they're going to be wanting in May and June. I think you keep the relationships now. You know, don't go into a hole for 2 months. They say you can go back to work, and now you're calling your buyer from March for the first time in 2 months. I mean, so yeah, you're keeping those relationships up. And then, I mean, I think you got to be ready. Like, I think it's going to be a rush. You know, what I would be doing right now with my listings is I'd be getting extensions of all the listings. You can do that on Dotloop. Throw a little plug into, you can go do a Dotloop extension. So you can, you know, you can get your business in order, get your sphere done, get all the stuff we were talking about. But so when the gun goes off and you can go back to business, you got listings that have been extended. You're going to have to go and look at every one of them, take new pictures. It's going to be a new season, so you'll need summer pictures instead of winter pictures. You know, you'll get busy. It'll be a sprint at the beginning. So get yourself ready for it. You know, be prepared.
I love that for sure. Everybody, thank you so much, Joe. Really, we do appreciate your time. This has been awesome. Anybody that has any questions for Joe, I'm happy to put you in contact with him. Any questions about New York or New Jersey or just being on lockdown in general and what that's like, feel free to comment below. Also, if you're interested in learning more about Dotloop or how we can help assist you guys in this new virtual world we live in, just shoot us a message right below and we're happy to get in touch with you guys. So thanks again so much. I really appreciate your time. You've been awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.